It's
No big deal.
it's
What's
gonna
up,
happen like that.
everybody? How you guys doing?
All right, all right, all right.
All right. Let's talk about it, dude. This is the time of year where we're looking toward the season, and we really have some decisions to make.
Sure.
Seems like every year now we have more players than we have roster spots,
Hmm.
and one of the perceived ways we can move forward is, I don't know, not the biggest fan of the conversation all the time because I think it gets lost, like some of the nuance of it. But let's talk about a trade, bro. A trade to get better. How do you feel about a trade?
So, what do we talk? Let's just put up the parameters first of all, and let's talk about like, are we talking about a all-star player coming back? Are we talking about MVP coming back?
Um, Not necessarily.
Okay, so we're talking pre-all-star player then, like an
What are
all-star
we?
caliber player, but hasn't broken through to the all-star, right?
Yeah, I would say on his way up because of the age of our team.
Sure.
Um,
Okay,
yeah,
so under 25, an all-star level player, but maybe hasn't broken through. Okay, so I'm looking at like this, man. Is that like if we're talking about a player like that, for now, what it would cost right now, would probably be three or four first round picks to guaranteed to get it, guaranteed. You know, we've got 15 over the course of 7 years or 8 years. So let's just count that down. Are we willing to essentially give one draft pick a year to get a superstar on our level? Um, this is where I struggle with this, and I truly want to say this in the most meaningful way, is because I look at our draft picks as draft assets to move up into the draft, right? So anytime that we're sitting at a position like at 12 or we got a 25th and we want to move up into the top, 10, how are we going to do that? Trading some of the picks that we have now. Do we Are we willing to roll the dice when we haven't proven what we have done what we can do right now, without another player next to Shea that's a superstar type level? Are we willing to gamble on that at this point of our this Thunder's, you know, time period? I don't know if we are, man, because I don't know how this team is going to set up. I look at this and I've said since day one, I feel the Thunder should only trade when we are sitting out in the Western Conference Finals and we can't make it through. We just keep on running up against that Western Conference Final shelf, you know, like then we make the trade to help us get over that hump. But we don't know what we can do right now, so it's hard for me to say, yeah, let's go for a trade. Let's go leverage some of our first round draft picks to hopefully get a player that can pan out into our system.
So, all right, there are two players that I think, I think embody this argument right now, and I think over time it could be, um, I think it could expand into a couple more, right? Um, I think, say a couple of years ago, if you had said Zion Williamson could be available,
Sure.
people thought we should trade Shea for Zion.
Hmm.
Okay, I never was one of those people, but now people think Zion's completely has no value.
Sure.
Okay, and I think that that is also a misstatement. I think, I look at a player like Luka Doncic,
Yeah.
who not long ago people said you'd have to trade Shea if you could. And now I think that's an argued idea. Like it's maybe 50-50 on which one's a better player. And I think Shea's on his way up. But say you could get one of these players for, say, 5 picks and a collection of players, borderline roster players,
Sure.
Mitchich, Trey Mann, some guys that we like, but mostly resetting Dallas's future. And
Sure.
let's just say you're assuming that no other team can really put as many picks on the table or wants to at this moment for a player who has a limited time left
Yeah.
on their contract. So all of those things are on the table. Why wouldn't you be willing to take on a player, even like a Ben Simmons, who 3 picks maybe gets him, and then it costs you nothing really out of your core, right? But all of a sudden your upside is much greater. Like I understand that we're like, oh well, we should go through Western Conference, finals failures before we go to
Sure.
the finals. But if you added Luca to this team, if you added a healthy Zion, and maybe the plan for Zion is like, hey, 40 games a year, that's all you need to play, but let's just
Mm,
make sure they're part of the playoffs. Like I get that people be like that would be terrible for our locker room and our mentality. So those are the two examples I can think of. But there's always a guy like, say, Paul George, who when he came available, right? It was like our team wasn't good enough. People
sure.
can't blame Paul George for not leading us to a championship. It wasn't his fault. So I think like if you were in the spot where there's a disgruntled superstar who's still young enough and they have a good attitude and you can put down more picks than anybody else and help that team get to a reset,
Yeah.
I'm for it. I don't think that it could necessarily throw things off. I really don't. I think no more than Chet would necessarily come in and throw things off. And I don't see that happening because I think the way that we play is such a free flowing style of the game. Like
Sure.
it's beautiful. So maybe I'm maybe I'm the only one, bro.
I, I
But
I don't think you are. I think there's a lot of people that are saying that, like, getting a trade and doing a trade is smart. I want to throw this out there on, the most respectful way possible is because, like,
what's
um
up, Unc? What's up, OSU? What's up, Matthew?
I look at this, Unc, we're going to be getting to the call-in show in a minute here. We'll post it up here in a second here for you guys. But for me, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying, like, what do we need? Like, what's 100% what is needed right now? And that's where I keep on going back to the drawing boards because people can say, yeah, we need a big man, we need another guard, we need this, we need that. My point about that is that what do we really need? Like, how do we know what we really need at this point with these guys? We don't.
Well,
Why?
I would
Because
agree with
these
that.
guys haven't
I
gone
agree.
out and played all together yet.
But I'm talking like as we approach the trade deadline,
Yes.
if a team is ready to tear it down and we're not like this guy
Yes.
has a skill set we could use and it's going to cost us 4 or 5 picks.
Sure.
I mean, you you think that's I mean, there
Well,
are certain players you can look at and
I look
say,
at Chet. We don't know what Chet can do on defense as a big man. We don't know what Jay Will and Chet could do next to each other as big men. Okay. We don't know what JRE's going to be able to do. We don't know if Garuba's going to be on this team.
okay,
So there's the big man. Then we go guards, right? We don't know what Trey Mann's up to right now. We don't know, and this can go down to of understanding exactly where the drawing board is. I'm glad that we're having this discussion because I don't know what's best for the Thunder. I could sit here and say I think that holding on to the draft picks for another year or at least 6 months and then redefining what's going on at that point would be smart, but that's February time period and I doesn't mean I'm right.
imagine a Paul George is available. I mean, we don't have another 6'8" small forward who can defend that high of a level and shoot the ball from behind the arc. Like, I wouldn't say you would look at a guy like Paul George and be like, yeah, his skill set would be redundant. It might create a log jam, but like he's probably, I mean, not the Paul George that's with the Clippers now, but the Paul George that we traded for back in the
Sure.
day. Like
Sure.
if a player was at that level, I think you can look at it and be like, yeah, I mean, if they come in and they buy into the system, right,
Yeah.
defend their position at a high level, then our ceiling goes up.
Sure.
And I'm like, this could be a year for us to actually win the West. Like, I really believe that. Like,
Yeah.
there's an opportunity here. And I think it's going to come from a team who's deciding to hit the reset button.
Sure.
And they, new ownership, new management, whatever, they're ready to go. And there's going to be an opportunity to pick up a player that it's going to be expensive. But if Laurie Markkinen is a good example of like limited players on our roster who truly possess that skill set. Franz Wagner, another player. I'm not necessarily saying like there's one player.
But
I'm saying we
I
should be buyers in this trade deadline, this
I
time
I
period.
agree, but I would love to see if anything, like more so than anything, is Jay Will stealing a starting position away. You know, learning how to become that we need Jay Will on that floor. Like everybody has a player like that. That's a second rounder. You can look at Draymond Green. That in a way is an enforcer in their own right. Jay Will is that enforcer in his own right, and I think that a lot of us want to. I was a big man growing up. I was a small big man, but we always want to look at and say this is what a team needs. But I'm sorry, with Jay Will on the floor, We can go two big man, or we can go single big man. And
What's
I
up,
think that
Corey?
that's something we got to look at, like whether we need time to develop, like Matthew is saying, for the squad, or if this team just needs to understand what they can do. And I think that's the biggest thing that we're facing right now as an organization is, like, we've drafted all these players, we've got the coaching staff, we've got all this other stuff in place. Now it's just time to see what these young men can do. And if they can do something surprising and that's like, whoa, we weren't expecting that from Oklahoma City, then why add anything right now? Like, if we're going out there and we're like,
What's up,
okay,
Shane?
we're one player away, and this is the position that we need it from. Now we can go and say, we're willing to pay a couple draft picks for marketing, or three draft picks, Lori Markkinen, or Franz Wagner, or whoever the fill in person that we need at that moment.
Right.
I think about how Sam Presti went to the draft to pick up big men, and every draft he was always trying to pick up a big man like 6'10", whether it was Mitch McGarry or Ibaka, or he just kept on reaching for those big men because it was hard, you know. But here, with how we have been able to draft, we've got our big men, we've got our guards, we've got our depth, we've got our draft picks, we've got our young assets, we've got our veterans, and I just want to know what they can do. Like, flex your muscle, guys. See what's up.
Okay, but let's just play this game a little bit more, bro. Last year we were talking about the idea that maybe we could get the Portland Trailblazers pick for Lou Dort,
Yeah.
right? What if we could get Damian Lillard for a combination of picks in Lou Dort? Like,
Like, are we in the position? Let's just say February. It's
like,
it's
like
it's
Michael Jordan's security guard,
so.
like that.
I mean, like, listen, I'm all for it if we're sitting in a position in February and we're in the top of the West, and another West team's like, hey, listen, we're gonna go get Damian Lillard, and we're like, yeah, no, we'll take Damian and we'll trade him to the East next year. See, I'm cool with that. You know what I'm saying? I'm down with that. I'm 100% down, because then we take him out of the West hands and we don't let him go to a team like Phoenix, or a team like Lakers or Clippers. We take him out of the West, we put him back in the East, or put him in the East, not back in the East, but put him in the East, while being able to up our ante for him. Because to me, if the Blazers don't pull the trigger, right? And let's just say Jaylen Brown is having a phenomenal season. Why wouldn't you know, like, for me, I'll be looking at this saying, hey, the Celtics, we've proven we like to work with you guys. Jason Tatum needs a point guard. Like, after the season, we'll trade you guys. And to me, that's how a well-oiled organization runs, is that they're able to understand that taking a star player out of the West and then trading him to the East helps you out, for winning purposes. And also it allows you to control the destination for some of these players. Like, maybe it's Miami that he wants to go. Well, cool. We can get him to Miami, but we're not trading him to Miami without bringing Bam back for him. And now we have a situation on our hands that we're literally sitting and we own all the pieces. And I think that's how we need to be able to look at this, is that if halfway through the season in February, we have a chance to pick up a star player for, cheaper than it would have cost a year ago, it would be silly for us to pass on it, because we can rehabilitate that career, turn around and trade him to the place he wants to go, and really walk away with an enormous payday.
Like, I know it's crazy to think about, but I could see us in a spot where we're top four in the West and we make a play to make the team better. Maybe it takes a little bit of time.
Yeah,
Like, we understand that, but like in the playoffs, it'll give us a deeper um, capacity to get to the finals potentially. And
sure.
I think deep down, like the thing was sort of like the polar opposite of what I'd like to see. Like,
Yeah,
if we could have ended Kendrick Perkins and we kept Jeff Green, that might have been the right situation.
sure.
But like, the last thing I want to see is us move on a player like that's young and has a long career in front of them. For somebody who's at the back nine of theirs, I don't know what you would say about KP exactly, but he was definitely not, on his way up.
Sure.
You know,
Yeah, man. All right. So Mitch says here, I don't think Jay will be the first backup. I believe Mark will run Poku first. I listen. I agree with that, but Jay Will isn't just a one trick pony. Jay Will plays that 4 position, 5 position. He'll even play small forward position. Jay Will just gets playing time. That's what he does. I do think that Poku, when he gets back from his injury and broken arm, I do think he's going to get playing time, but there is a time period that he's going to have to get back into the system where Jay Will's already been playing into that system all summer long. So I do think that Poku has a ways to go to get back into the form of things. But I mean, the reality is that I just love what Jay Will can do. The fact that he can take charges like he does brings a certain dynamics to the game we've missed so much over the course of 20 years. So I'm excited about that. But Matthew Garcia, big shout out to you, man. I really appreciate what you're saying. Listen, what was clipped of what we said about Victor was simply clipped. We did call him some names for punctuation stuff and causing issues. But the reality is that our true feeling about who Victor is and what he's going to become in the league hasn't changed at all. I mean that's just that he has 3 years before he's going to do something great. But in that 3 years, you guys are going to see a lot of glimpses of something that's going to be special.
For sure, bro. You ready to hit play on this Colin thing? So that is the link. Um, boom,
There we go.
boom. If
Boom.
you
That's the one
guys,
up.
your phones will work. Your computers will work. If you want to try on your phone, we had a buddy who's now in Germany. He used his phone. You have to download the app, the Riverside app. But we'd love to have you guys join us for the live call in. If you guys are on another app or another listening platform, podcast, or anything, we want to start doing these live podcasts more. What's up, Jaden? Um, it's a great idea. Our listeners have kind of come up with about finding a way to share, your guys' opinions about what's going on. I
Yep.
hate using the word takes too much because it's really just about talking. We're not trying to I don't know, surprise anybody with some outstanding information. We're just trying to have a community where friends hang out and talk about their favorite sport. So we're gonna see if this works. This is our first real opportunity. We're trying to make every day a call-in show, an opportunity to hear you guys and what you have to say. We've been talking through the chat for a long time, so and this is our chance to hear back.
Yeah.
So
Man, we appreciate Mawani. We know you're one of the original guys. I think it's great the live show. What's added to it? I think I want to say it was February when we did our first live show, and it really changed everything how we went from that point on because we recognized that we were actually able to connect to you guys, and that was way more than we've ever had as far as watching games and different things like that. So that live aspect brought something, and then now we have this call in. Man, I'm so pumped up about this call and being able to talk to you guys and stuff like that. I'm excited about it, man.
all right, I pinned that link.
All right, cool.
But anyway, dude, so who knows what's going to happen with this Poku versus J Will situation?
Yeah.
I do know Coach Degnaw is really good at balancing things, and we want to make sure we have Poku healthy at the end of the season. So that's something that's really important.
Well, yeah,
J
and
Will
I think,
definitely.
but I
Go
think
ahead.
that position, and I respect what Micah's saying here, or Mitch, Micah. I respect what you're saying, and I want to echo it. Like I do think that Poku is going to end up getting more playing time in the long run. But at this point, when he's getting back from injury, he's got an uphill battle to get back to normal. And I don't think anybody should ever be rushed back from injury ever. So with that being said, is that it might look heavy for Jay Will getting more playing time than Poku in the beginning. But that, like Mark said, it's in order to get Poku to stay healthy all year round, and that's the biggest thing.
Absolutely.
So
J Will showed durability. I was pretty impressed with how he came on stronger as the season went on.
that's right.
Um, he's going to put a lot of pressure on everybody, and I think he's one of those players where his play style is contagious. So he's going to teach a lot of players how to take charges properly. You can't be around a all-time great charge taker and not learn a few things. So
That's it, man. I mean, I think with the way that Dort picks up those offensive fouls on the our opponents, and how Jay Will sets up and does what he does, Poku's blocking ability, Chet's blocking ability, and then we got our perimeters with our 7 foot long arms. Josh Giddey, Shea, J Dub. I mean, these guys have such crazy long arms. You throw them in the mix here, guys. Like the teams are going to have an incredibly hard time to shoot over top of us. And on top of that, getting around us is going to be very, very difficult. So I appreciate again how this whole um, organization has redefined like what is valuable as a player. Like listen, if Jay Will was in this last draft right here, after somebody just went up and just almost broke the record for charges as a rookie, right? There
Mhm.
is not a chance in the world that Jay Will goes in the second round. Like same thing with Dort. When Dort was undrafted, the year after what Dort went undrafted, I'm telling you, there was a couple guys that were drafted in the first round, late in the first round, that were very much like Dort
The people who are
because
like
of how
saying
he
the next Lou
redefined it.
Dort, the next Lou Dort.
Yeah, and it's redefining how people are drafting players, and it's just like with, the second rounder with Jokic. He was a second rounder. Now everybody's looking for that second rounder like that. And to me, it's, like it's all about the luck of the draw in the NBA. It is. Like how many times do we say like this is a surefire superstar in the league, and then player comes out there, has a couple good years, and they turn into, I don't know, Andrew Wiggins. You know, like
Yeah, I did. I know.
you know, cool. That's great that they can average 20 points a game, but they don't have that it factor. And I think that's why, for me, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying, we got J Dub. I know he's got that it factor. We've got Shea. He's got that it factor. Chet. He's got that it factor. I know people will agree with me, but Dort has that it factor. He's got that it factor on defense, and I think that's way more valuable than having another guy on that offensive side that has that it factor because you need the dirty workers out there. And Dort, I mean, he has no problem getting in that mud.
What's
You know
up,
what I'm
Wayne?
saying? He has
Yeah.
no problems, man. And I think that's what's important to have guys like that that are willing to get dirty, that are willing to create that physical contact and that physical presence out there.
I OSU trade dudes. Man, Joe, Kaysen, J. Will, Poku. That's a good
That's your
bench
second
unit right
five.
there, man.
I like that second five. What about who can we add in there? I like that. So
Midget,
we got, yeah, Misjic. I like him there. I like the fact that we have so many different players like Usman Jang that we can throw
Kenny
in there.
Hustle.
Kenny Hustle in there. Like that's the thing about this, guys, is that you just mentioned our top 10 guys now, or 10 of our top 15 guys, but that was out without Kenny Hustle, Usman Jang. Like people are sitting here saying you guys are not as good as you guys think you are, and that's where I disagree when people come to me and say you guys are not as good as we think you guys think you are. I disagree with that because if you
Wiggins,
look
good
at
point.
this, what other teams have this situation where we have 15 guys that are seriously going to be taking up more playing time, and most of those 15 guys could probably be in the top 7 8 players in most teams, on most teams.
Wiggins, to me, strikes me as a guy who sits just outside the top 10, right? And then fills
JRE.
in any spot, right? Comes into the starting lineup because a lot of times coach likes to keep the second unit intact.
Yeah.
So he'll bring in a group that's just kind of unique that as the starting lineup to kind of keep it intact. So you
Yep.
keep Wiggins outside the top 10,
That's
even
right.
though he can easily play with it. You mentioned JRE.
Yep.
He's going to be in that tough minutes situation. All right, Ryan, we'll see you soon, man.
All right,
Um,
Ryan. Appreciate you coming on, man.
so
What's up, Wayne?
that's it, man. I feel like we got a lot of depth, and it's going to be one of those things where, yeah, most games we're going to play 10, maybe 12, but a lot of the guys are going to be sitting there itching to get in the game because they're healthy. They're just on restriction time, or
That's it.
coach said this isn't a matchup that I want you.
And I want to say to all those guys that are saying, "What about this player? What about that player?" All those players can get playing time because I'm sorry, we're not going to go an entire season without an injury. We're just not. I mean, I've never seen a team go an entire season without an injury in the top 10 players, and then all of a sudden a younger player steps up. And I don't know if Kaysen is going to be in the top 10 in the beginning of the season. I just don't know. I couldn't sit here and say Kaysen's a top 10 player in the beginning of the season. I do think that he's going to earn his way into there, But I think at this point, if you're looking at the guards, I mean, I think Kenny Hustle is above him. I think Isaiah Joe is above him. I think there's certain players that are above Kaysen right now, and that's not a diss to Kaysen. That's just Kaysen's got to step up and start playing, and he's got to show the Oklahoma City Thunder. And by the time the season starts, if Kaysen's taken over that 7th or 8th spot, he's earned that spot. Because to me, again, we're going back to that varsity vibe that this team gives. Like you aren't given a spot. If your name's not Shea, your name's not J-Dub, your name's not Chet, your name's not Dort, your name's not Josh Giddey, you're not given anything. Even those guys aren't given it. They have to earn it. So we're going back to that old school thing, man, and it's amazing.
Absolutely, man. There's going to be a lot of depth. Like we always talk about, that's where coach gets paid the big bucks. Make sure that we're developing this young talent. Our top end talent continues to fight at the top level.
Man, it's just simple as this. When everybody else is just begging just for the tip, we've got full penetration, and that's what this team is, man. Everybody's begging just the tip, just the tip. And we're like, nah, fuck that shit. We're elbow deep, bro.
We're gonna have a lot of fun this year.
This year is going to be one of the best years for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Not just because it's been 3 years since we've like truly made a playoff run, but we're getting close. All right, here we go. Unk,
what's up, man?
What is up, Unk? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Hold on.
All right.
Sorry, just let me get this thing off.
No, you're fine.
I didn't mean to jump in here like this, but I was eating, had lunch right here. But
man, we appreciate you.
Y'all do a good job, and I'm with y'all all the way. It's fun.
Hell yeah, man. Well, we appreciate you consistently listening to us, and it's great to officially meet you. So sometimes we get on here and we're always like, oh, I wonder what Unk looks like and some of these other guys. So it's great to be able to see faces. So we appreciate you.
Well, I hear you. I don't know how I've done it, but I'm not really technically kind of a savvy kind of a guy. So somehow I got on here. So I don't know. Maybe I can join you, more often.
That'd be great, man. That would be great. We love it.
All right. Well, y'all are doing a good job. And
hey, let me ask you, Unk, before you get out of here, man, who do you think off the bench like you would put as our 6th man? Because that's one question a lot of people have with so much depth.
Well, see, the way I think about it is you could almost split this thing up where you'd have basically, take Giddey and maybe, Giddey and someone else and have them come off the bench. Maybe put in Joe as a shooting guard and, Poku starts instead of Chet.
I like it.
Kind of a deal like that, which I know it's not what it's almost kind of like what's his name? The Arkansas coach where he used to have like two guys, two separate. What was his name? Then I think he went to. I can't remember the black guy.
Yeah, the old guy.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah, he had Derek Coleman and those guys.
And then he ran a whole squad in there for like 5 minutes.
Yep.
Just let him go balls to the wall.
Man, I like that. I like that rotation of having 5 different guys out there at all times.
One thing I've noticed is we've talked a lot about finding ways to have 8 starters, 10 starters. So that's an interesting solution. But I don't know how some of those guys would feel about coming off the bench, but we've seen that kind of be a problem in the past. I'd like to see any cool solution like that that's kind of out of the box thinking. So go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I see a lot of people saying Isaiah Joe, 6th man of the year candidate.
Not that he can't do it. Yes, I understand that.
I agree. Isaiah Joe, Mark's Mike just went out there. Isaiah Joe as a 6th man would be fun. But for what you're saying, Unk, I like the idea of just mixing things up, making it a little bit different, making it a committee by 6th man,
I like the idea of not have the same starting lineup every single game.
Sure.
I mean, and then in the last 5 minutes, it was, when we had KD and Russ and all those guys, the last 5 minutes were always the same.
Yep.
I mean, we had the same person. If you had the last second shot, we knew who was going to shoot it. I mean, there's 4 other people out there that could. I like this team and the way they played this year. It was the funnest I've ever watched them because it felt like they were a team.
Yeah.
And I think that's what everyone's kind of bought into it, like y'all were saying. I mean, it's a 10, 12, 13 man rotation kind of a deal. You might not won't play one game, and we could rest the star players.
That's it.
Every 4th or 5th game sometimes if you wanted to. So
which I think is a huge thing to keep everybody healthy. And I think, when push comes to shove, if you are resting guys every 5, 6, 7 games where it's like maybe it's not a full game rest, but it's a half a game rest or a quarter rest, like it allows these guys to be able to go 75 games and stay healthy. And I think that's key for this team. So I agree.
Well, like I said, this might be my last time because I might not be able to get this thing back on here again.
Well, we appreciate you.
Hopefully, I'll be able to get back with y'all later on. I'll let y'all go and let someone else have the opportunity to get in here.
Appreciate it, Unk. We appreciate it.
All right, we'll see y'all.
See you soon.
Bye.
No, but I think this is a good idea when push comes to shove, Mark, is that the 6-man by committee, by switching it up, different starters. A lot of people did not like Coach Degnot's way of rotation for substitution. I was a huge fan of it, bro. I liked it because it was almost so sporadic that sometimes people were like, what is he doing? But I think what he's doing is he's taking what has been given to him as far as the numbers, as far as what it's people are seeing, and then what are the numbers in the AI side of the big game and where it's coming now. So I look at it and I say, Coach Degnot's done a great job to switch to a rotation of a starting lineup. Man, that's next level. And that would be, something that would be amazing to see.
Yeah, I think there's obviously I think OSU Trade just said it. It might seem like an insult to Giddey off the bench, and I think that's really the big challenge is like, how do you blend like new analytics about staying healthy with like old school traditional, like this is what it means to be, a starting point guard or a power forward in the NBA.
Yeah.
I think for a player like J-Dub, it's easy to say like he's got an NBA ready body and he's ready to take it to the. But to me, I find it really kind of fascinating to think like what his career will look like in 12 years if we can keep him healthy. I think he to me, he seems like Dwayne Wade level like legacy if he can just stay healthy and help us put up a few championships. So that's on the horizon for him. Will he reach that if he starts playing 82 games a season every year starting this next year? Like I question like the longevity of players. Like this is something that we kind of went at it a little bit with Spurs fans, although it was kind of like we were a little bit caught off guard because the Spurs like invented the idea of load management. Now, it seems to me like load management to the Spurs means like end of career load management, whereas like as Thunder fans, we're like beginning of career load management is important.
We should be careful how we say this, though.
We should, but I'm just saying like maybe this isn't something that the Spurs fans have thought about, but like we've seen the value of early career load management and how long that can help to lead players' careers to be. And I just think that that's like we were kind of surprised because we thought that the Spurs were the ones who invented that. And we're like, oh yeah, we all agree on this. And it was like, well, no, not necessarily everybody agrees and a lot of Spurs, on early career load management.
And a lot of Spurs fans were saying stuff like Victor said he's going to have a spectacular year and he's going to come out and have one of the best rookie years. And you can have one of the best rookie years and only play 50 games, 45 games.
You could totally do that. It could be the most impactful in those 50 games.
And that's what I hope the Spurs do, just because I want Victor to have a lifetime. All right. So real quickly before Mawani says it was Eric Musselman. Unk was actually referring to Nolan Richardson. He was coach there for 20-something years in Arkansas. Derek Coleman, 1993. I think they won the championship, 95, whatever it was.
I thought
they
Coleman
had a hell of a year.
Dude.
What?
I thought Derek Coleman went to Syracuse.
I mean, Coleman. I'm thinking.
They had a really good team. Arkansas
big man. I can't even think of the big man.
They kept making it. They were like they scored crazy numbers, and they would
It
make
was
it to the
crazy. And
Final Four over
this
and
is
over.
what he did. He would run the 5 guys in, and then he would put his, bench 5 guys, and then he would put his next team in, and they would just run team after team after team. And again, having that type of mentality is cool. So Unk, good job. That was a hell of a name to pull there. Pretty baller.
Very, very cool. Well, let's see what Jaden said. I have a theory. We don't need any 2024 draft picks, maybe one. We
Yeah.
have to dump some good players this year. Why not package them for a really good young player like a Hero or Miles Turner?
Sure.
That level trade. Jaden, I agree 100%. I think picking the right guy, asking ourselves, like, is there a player that doesn't have a redundant skill set? Now, I'm a big fan of Hero, like you, Jaden, it seems like, but you start talking about Tyler Hero around Thunder fans, and it'll be like, honestly, it's like somebody brought up Will Harper.
Yeah.
Will Harper, legend of Will Harper from last episode or whatever, Dave.
No,
Tyler Hero's got game.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is that, like, if we're just patient and we're just sitting in that position of saying, hey, we're willing to help any team that looking for a trade to get this player, like we're going to be sitting in a position to be able to get a player like Tyler Hero, like why? Because we have draft picks that teams want, like, and guys like Tyler just not going to be expensive. They're just not. Like this whole change of the way the NBA is being played is everybody's starting to focus on the draft, and they should be. And now all of a sudden they're saying, how do we get rid of these bigger contracts of these semi, good players? How do we open up space for our team to be able to get better? So that's where a team like the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's saying we just need a shooter or we just need a defender, we get somebody for cheap.
And that's like what Unk is saying right here. Like, not that Giddey never starts, just that once in a while change up the lineups. Finding different ways, like you're saying, Dave, to give more opportunities so that you don't have, like, traditionally you could only have 5 starters, and therefore if those 5 guys are the only people who could really be satisfied with their role on the team. Sure. If you're like, we're going to open it up to 7 starters, and we're going to create rotations where different players are starting in different ways, and now all of a sudden every player feels like they're somehow involved in this, and then you can have, like, it's a common theme for Thunder fans to be fearful that we have too many good players.
Or how too many draft picks.
That? How too many draft picks? Like, you got to find a way to, like, go non-conventional. Sometimes, like, great teams will have, this 6th man is our secret weapon off the bench, and then like a Jamal Crawford, or my favorite player growing up, John Starks, would kind of buy into those roles, and they would be the spark plug off the bench.
Sure.
Like, we need that, but like, and that's big time Isaiah Joe type thing. But then on the flip side, you need to find a way where you're not just like 5 players in the 6th man. Like, so who knows what the solution is? I think Coach Dagnall is one of the more innovative young coaches in this league. So it's going to be fun to see the solutions that he comes up with.
Well, and I think that's the exciting part about what Coaches D has to do is that he's going to earn his new paycheck, That's what I want to see. I want to see him how to figure out how to do this, because if he can do it right, I mean, it's on, If you can't do it right, then we got to push the reset. And that's something that we don't want to do, We're too far into this rebuild. And I think this is the thing where we're sitting is that, like, in the past, if a player like James Harden or Russell Westbrook didn't pan out, it would have stunted our organization completely. Unlike any other time in the Thunder history, we're set. If a player like J-Dub goes out, and knock on wood right here, but tears his ACL and doesn't get to play another chance in the NBA, or at least for the Thunder, right? How bad is that going to hurt us? It's going to hurt us. I'm not going to sit here and lie, but we'll be able to have that next man up mentality because of how deep we are. We're going to feel his pain leaving, but we'll be able to cover down. I mean, the same goes to Josh Giddey. The same goes to Chet. The same goes to, Shea. Like, this team is designed for the next man up mentality because injuries are inevitable. And if we just plan for it and we go for it, things would be good. And that's why I'm excited about this team, man. We've got so many different structures and so many different ways to go about what we're doing. And I can't say it enough, man. The Thunder are going.
Go ahead, Dave. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, the Thunder are going to rewrite how to rebuild in 2 years, because this is a whole new next level.
Let's see. Mwani said that Poku is playing FIBA.
Oh, he is.
So
But,
that's exciting.
bro, that's hey, Mwani, I want to ask, is that new news? Because I've been scavenging everything I could possibly find about that. Yeah. So if it is brand new, hell yeah. We also getting a Wayne is asking about, is there any players from Brazil that is playing?
I'm not aware.
I want to say there is a player that is playing at Santa Cruz. Santos is his name. 2002 when he was born, so he's young. So he's playing at Santa Cruz. Everybody else is a player that's playing in Brazil, France, or Spain or Germany. So, there's a couple of them that I've seen through scouting and stuff like that. But most of them are born in the 90s. There's only a couple 2000 guys that we haven't necessarily scouted yet. So, but Brazil, though, I mean, they seem to always have a nice little team. They had like Verjao and some other young players at one point playing. That was nice to see. So, who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
That's awesome that you get to go watch them, man.
Good vibes, man. I'm pumped, dude. Paying attention to this FIBA stuff, and obviously focusing on the game. And Unk, thank you for being our first call-in.
Yes, Unk, we appreciate you, man.
And we're gonna, like we said before, we're gonna make this show call-in ready pretty much every show. So
that's it.
Just let us know.
All right, guys.